Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting for Monday, April 1st, 2024. No joke, it's April 1st. We will begin with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Bieberdorf. Maher.
Here.
Roberts. Stroman.
Here.
Pettigrew.
Here.
Sechrist.
Here.
Lehman.
Here.
Ham.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Roseland.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we will have an invocation by Pastor Greg Blanc, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're willing, would you please rise?
Good evening. Grateful to be here with you again tonight. Just want to say thank you all for your dedication to our city and your service to all of us. And I'm learning more and more these days that even though you may not hear it a lot, you are loved and respected by the vast majority of our city. And I just want to encourage you that thank you for stepping up, taking some heat every once in a while. And with that, let's pray. Let's pray. Father, we open this meeting inviting and invoking your presence here. Let your grace and your peace be evident to everyone. We're thankful that you love the people of Rapid City and you want what's best for us. We're pleased for our state motto that declares, under God the people rule. As a community, we're grateful to the men and women you have allowed to govern us. Give them your wisdom as they bear the privilege and responsibility to lead the people of Rapid City, knowing their decisions impact many people. Lord, we ask you to bless Mayor Solomon, the city council members, the police and fire chiefs, and all the other officials here and their families as they serve the citizens of Rapid City. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jason, you can adopt the agenda and all that, please? Yeah, you want to take care of that? Okay. Okay, we've got a motion to adopt by Lehman and a second by Roseland. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now is the time for a presentation by the Honorable Mayor Solomon on the Vision Fund, and you may proceed, sir.
Thank you. Well, it's a good day today. I thank you all for giving me a chance to present the next 5 years of the Vision Fund. I thought I would just say we'll just throw $90 million into potholes and call it good, but that's my April Fool's joke, and we will not. I know that's not much of a joke. Some of you, they took that way too seriously, but our folks are obviously doing a great job, and we're grateful for them. And so today what we're going to do, we've had a lot of discussions with you over the, past several months, but even previous council members and mayors and things like that. We've talked about what do we do with the Vision Fund. And today I'm here to talk about the next round. This is, believe it or not, this is round 8 of the Vision Fund, and this is a 5-year plan. And this is important because this really funds whatever the priorities that we have for the city moving forward. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the history, talk a little bit about our taxes, and where those go, and then we will unveil the plan to you tonight. So it should only take me about 45 minutes, so we should get started. I'm also kidding. That's not going to be how long it takes, but just making sure that you're awake with me. Okay. Let's make sure we are good. All right, so many of you know that whenever you buy anything, 6.2% of what you, every dollar you spend goes to sales tax in Rapid City. Now, that does not all go to the city of Rapid City. In fact, the most of it goes to the state of South Dakota. They get their 4%. And then one of those pennies goes towards the general sales tax, general fund revenue for the city, and the other penny goes towards the capital improvement projects, which are used for ongoing maintenance and operations, as well as the Vision Fund. And we kind of have it broken out here just so you kind of see whenever you spend a dollar and how that breaks out there. There we go. So, there we go. So every $100 spent in Rapid City, you see that how that breaks down. We have $4.20 going to the state, $1 to the Rapid City General Fund, 58 cents to the Capital Improvement Plan, and 42 cents to the Vision Fund, and you can actually see the breakdown there. And I think that's important just to know how that kind of looks. Now, this is unique in the state of South Dakota. Most cities do take 2 cents for their sales tax, and usually they have 1 cent fund their general fund, and the other cent fund what they call their capital improvements fund. Those are things you would know as infrastructure and facilities and alike. And in fact, it's kind of interesting. We did a comparison here to other cities, and we see that Spearfish puts all their tax into the general fund. They don't even divide it up. Aberdeen, they have, of course, general fund, 1 cent going to the general fund, the other to their capital improvements. Sioux Falls does the same. Brookings does the same. Apparently they do it twice. And then Rapid City, we're a little different. Now, I think in many ways this has been wonderful. We already know we're a little different here in many ways. But as we grow, and we know that we're the fastest growing mid-sized city in the Midwest, and with that comes growing needs, opportunities, and challenges. And you can kind of see that it presents unique challenges, but I also think this is an opportunity for us. But it's important for you to have some context of what this looks like. This is unusual. Most places don't do it this way, but that's how we do it here in Rapid City, and that's all right. It's okay for us to be a little different. So let's talk about that second penny. This is important because I think it helps to see, when you say CIP, that means capital improvement projects. Again, that's roads, infrastructure, facilities. You can see for 2025, we're estimating $24 million. The Vision Fund would be $17.5 million. And we kind of broke it out about how that usually breaks down. You can see Public Works gets the bulk of that, which would make a lot of sense. You see just a little bit over $1 million to the parks, 1.2 to city buildings. We actually own quite a few buildings here in town. Not as much as we should probably to information technology. 3.9 million for debt services. We have bonds, fire vehicles. You know, every one of those big fire vehicles are very expensive, and we have a replacement schedule for those, and of course other projects. In the Vision Fund, you'll see just for 2025 at 17.5 million, 6.6 goes to the Summit Arena debt service. We'll talk about the Summit Arena in just a moment, but that takes up a huge chunk of our Vision Fund, and it will for about 27 more years. So we are locked in for that. In fact, that's part of the bond that we have for the arena, is that we are locked into this, this funding source for that period of time. But we also see that even just in 1 year alone, we have 10.9 million for the next round of Vision Funds, although we will have a 5-year plan. So we will, of course, dive into that here shortly. I do want to talk a little bit about, well, what the ordinance says about the Vision Fund, because some folks will say we're going to propose something tonight that's a little different, but I will tell you that it's in line with what the people voted for when they originally put the Vision Fund in place. And in fact, we have the ordinance language here that the revenue, and you see that those two numbers there represent each penny, shall be placed into Rapid City's Capital Improvements and Vision Fund. There shall be 2 separate accounts within the fund: the Capital Improvements account to finance capital improvement projects, and the Vision account to finance buildings, facilities, infrastructure, and capital projects with an emphasis on community enhancement. And I will tell you that we are keeping in line with the spirit of what the ordinance says, that we will finance buildings, facilities, infrastructure, and other capital projects with an emphasis on community enhancement. Further, within the ordinance language, it talks a little bit about what this Vision Fund should and should not do. And I think this is important because this kind of sets parameters for us, that all projects included in the plan shall be located within the city limits of Rapid City or benefit the city as a whole. The City Council may use the Vision account to finance buildings, facilities, infrastructure, or other capital projects, but may not use the Vision account to finance ongoing maintenance and operational expenses of the various city departments or of any buildings or facilities included in the plan. Now that's important. That's what our CIP should be used for, ongoing maintenance. This city, after the flood, many of us know, was pretty much within the heart of it rebuilt. That's over 50 years ago. And a lot of that 50-year infrastructure is coming to life, and we're seeing that. We see that obviously with roads. We see that with facilities and alike. And so that's what the CIP is really good for, to take care of what you currently have. But what do you do about the new stuff? Because we're a growing city, we have new dreams, we have a brand new vision, we are excited about the future. How do we fund those things? And that is where we come up with the next phase of this. But let's talk a little bit about the origins of the Vision Fund, because quite frankly, we would not be here without people who've gone before us. Previous city council members, previous mayors, previous city staff, community leaders, citizens who really were a part after the flood. And in fact, I think this started even before the flood, but it still got through. In 1972, the voters approved a sales tax increase. That was that second penny. And the purpose was to pay for the new Civic Center facility, what we know as the entire monument complex. That was quite visionary back then. And in 1977, which happens to be the year I was born, no coincidence, and the year Elvis died, but also no coincidence, but the Civic Center opened. By the way, you know what the first concert was at the Civic Center? What is it? Elvis. It was not Elvis. That was REO Speedwagon. So there you go. That's a little trivia for you. Now, Elvis was at the grand opening, but it wasn't the first concert. Now, that was important, and we know how much that has done for our community. And in 1995, this is after it was paid off, the voters, once again, after several attempts, supported continuing the Vision Fund sales tax. And so that funded a number of significant projects that enhanced the quality of life. It was originally called the Vision 2012 Fund, eventually became the Vision Fund. I will tell you, just this last week, I had a wonderful conversation with former Mayor Ed McLaughlin, who was a big part of that. I talked to him a little bit about the Vision Fund and just, his thoughts about the city in general. And in talking to him about this, he loved that we were continuing on with the Vision Fund and loved that we were going to work on focusing the Vision Fund on our priorities. But it was fun to hear about that process, and it took several attempts, but again, folks got on board, and we know that it's had a tremendous impact on our community. Now, continuing on with the history, we see the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center. We know that it became the heart of culture and economic vitality. I was just talking to Councilor Stroman about a concert he recently went to and just saw all the joy on people's faces. I was at a Rush game on Saturday night. And when you're at events like that, I don't know about you, maybe it's just because I'm a cheesy mayor, but I just can't help sometimes but just step back and look at the community enjoying each other, despite all of our differences and everything else. But when we have a show, an orchestra concert, a sporting event, a play, a big dinner, you name it, whatever goes on at the monument, it really is wonderful, and that's all thanks to the Vision Fund. Now, we know many other community groups and infrastructures, parks, sports fields, cultural facilities, and recreation have benefited. You can see here some of the projects just in recent years. These aren't even all of them. I'll tell you one of the ones I'm most excited about is the Dinosaur Park renovation. And I'm looking forward, I think, in hopefully by May, maybe June, but hopefully May, that we'll have the grand opening for that, because there are going to be people who are going to get to go up to the dinosaurs for the first time. It's never been accessible before. And that's a municipal project that really means a lot to a lot of people, and I'm excited about that. But that's all part of the Vision Fund. And of course, we know not too long ago, we voted on the new Summit Arena. And whenever you've been in a show or the stock show or anything in there, it's pretty cool just to see, again, the vibrancy that's happening there. And that took a lot of work. Previous mayor had a lot of effort, but we also know community groups, the city council, of course, voted for that. The citizen, of course, it went through the ballot, and 2/3 of the citizens said that was worth the investment of our Vision Fund. And I will tell you, even though we spent, I think, $180 million on that, we wouldn't be able to build it for that much today. We got in there in just the nick of time, and we're going to be able to reap the benefits of that facility for many generations to come. So no doubt about it, the Vision Fund has had a tremendous impact on our community, as has the monument. And it's important to talk about. These are some of the economic development numbers we got from the monument, but this is the total economic impact. $131.3 million. So you're not just talking about things that improve the quality of life here, but they make financial sense. It creates jobs, it generates sales tax revenue that helps us fund the operations, the critical operations that we need. And so, no doubt about it, it has been a great investment and continues to do so. We continue to see, I went to the Journey and Toto concert. That was amazing. You see like 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 people singing Africa by Toto. I mean, that is fun. And it's okay to laugh at me. If you're not going to laugh with me, it's okay to laugh at me. But that is awesome when you see that. And so it has done so much for our community. And I think I don't have to convince you anymore of how much it's done for our community. So where do we go from here? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. We are talking about the next 5 years of the Vision Fund. And the idea is to focus on the future by prioritizing public projects and essential services. And we're going to break this out bit by bit. So we have 4 categories. And we do have handouts in case you want to see this. But the first category is community projects. And this will take up 25% of the Vision Fund budget. For starters, 1/2 of the arena bond payment, which is $16.4 million, will fall under this category. But we will also propose to the City Council $5 million towards citizen-recommended projects. I would recommend it be impact projects, things that, that's $5 million, that's $1 million per year, or $5 million total. That we take a look at maybe 1 or 2 projects, maybe more, that really have impact in our community. And also, we are proposing a $1.3 million towards a nonprofit endowment that we perhaps will do at the Black Hills Area Community Foundation, where nonprofits can, propose capital projects that they have. Perhaps it's a matching fund that they can actually get some assistance with their projects and their fundraising as well. And this is the first part of it. Now, this often has taken up the bulk of what our Vision Fund has been. And we're proposing a shift here. And a lot of this is based on your feedback, City Council. I've had many conversations with you. Some of you didn't, you wanted to make sure there was funding available for other projects that may not fit in these other categories. And so we did allocate this as we kind of change the trajectory of the Vision Fund towards the next chapter of Rapid City. I think this will provide a great opportunity still to encourage citizen input and of course help out nonprofits. And we know the Vision Fund over the years has helped out. We've poured millions and millions and millions into wonderful nonprofits doing great work. So this is what we're proposing for this next round. The second category for the Vision Fund will be economic development. We know that is critical to everything that we're doing here. We always have to look at how we raise revenues, and I'd like to not have to raise taxes. So another way to raise revenues, though, is to increase the pie, meaning more people spending more money in Rapid City. And then, of course, we get to benefit from the sales tax revenue so we can keep up with the ever-growing expenses and needs of the city. And so the other half of the arena bond payment will fall under this category of $16.4 million because there is an economic impact to that arena. And we also recommend $5 million towards economic development efforts. But the next couple of categories are going to be some of the, different for us, but I hope you'll like it. First, the third category, comprehensive plan priority projects. Nearly 30% of the Vision Fund going towards that. So right now, we are having a study for the comprehensive plan. What this is a plan that really serves as a roadmap for the next decade of Rapid City. This takes in feedback from the City Council, the city staff, the citizens, community groups, stakeholders, all sorts of people coming together to put this 10-year plan together. Now, this 10-year plan sets a trajectory for us, and I'm proposing that we set aside money to fund the projects that come out of that plan so that it's not just a plan that sits on a shelf, but actually has money where we can implement things. So a few things, for example, that I will ask that get into the comprehensive plan. I want to make sure that Parks and Recreation has their projects in the plan. They barely get over $1 million, and in the grand scheme of things, they have 1,700 acres of park space, great needs. Many of our Vision Funds have gone towards Parks and Recreation projects, whether it's arts and culture, natural beauty, sports facilities, and alike. So we're going to integrate parks and recreation projects into there. And of course, we're recommending $26.8 million in comprehensive plan implementation. Now, that won't all go to Parks and Rec. Sorry, Jeff. Other things that we know that we need, we're desperately behind on, is we need a public safety training center for our law enforcement and our fire department. I had an opportunity to visit Sioux Falls Public Safety Training Center recently. They combined theirs as in addition with their Emergency Operations Center and 911. But that was a $55 million facility, state-of-the-art, incredible. I'm not saying that that's the way we have to go. I do think it needs to be a significant investment because we have to train in environments that are ever-changing. And right now, I would love to have more localized training for our law enforcement, for our fire departments, so they can save lives and protect this community. They deserve it and they need it. And another one I'm going to recommend in the comprehensive plan is the fleet maintenance facility. Now, I'm recommending a new facility. We spend a lot of money on vehicles and equipment, big, giant, expensive trucks to just everyday daily drivers. If you visited our streets department and see the maintenance facility that they have, it is awful. It's an embarrassment to Rapid City. I visited with our streets department, I toured that place, and I've kind of dedicated, I want to do something about it. It's not the kind of project that probably gets you reelected necessarily, but it makes a lot of sense for our community because it protects the investment of the millions we put into our fleet. It provides more bays in order to do maintenance and repairs, and it allows better work environment for those men and women who work in our streets department. Those are just some examples. I'm not saying that's all the comprehensive plan. The community, the city council, others will have plenty of things that go into that. But it's an example of the kind of projects that we're talking about. So this money, nearly $27 million, might be used to straight up pay for something. It might be used to bond for something. But whatever the case may be, now we have a bucket that's part and tied to a plan. It is strategic, and that's what it's all about. And the fourth category, speaking of strategic, is the strategic growth revolving fund. Before I was ever on council, while I was on council, and even as mayor, one of the things I've heard many times is that we need to really direct the growth of the city, that we strategically, intentionally say, grow here and put in the road, water, sewer in a direction of town. And when we do, it will develop there. It will go according to plan. And as builders and developers tap into that, it pays back to the city in a revolving fund that we can use for the next project. I'm proposing that we put 22% of the Vision Fund, that's $20 million, towards this revolving fund to make this investment in proactive development in strategic areas. We've talked about it for years. I've heard so many people campaign on this. I've heard the ideas so many times. This is your window of opportunity, your rare window, to actually put the seed money into this and actually make a difference. This will be significant for our community. We know that Sioux Falls, this is how they develop, and they've been able to take advantage of that, and it's been wonderful. Right now, we are at the mercy of whichever direction developers choose to go in, because honestly, they're the ones with the skin in the game. But this allows us to say, grow here, and that is critical. And so that is the fourth category of the Vision Fund. I'm going to tell you, this is a lot to chew on because there's a lot of money at stake here, and this does shift the trajectory. But I believe that when this comes before you, which we plan in the next city council meeting for you to have the plan for you to vote on, it probably will be one of the most significant decisions you'll ever make on city council and that I will ever do as mayor. It is that big of a deal. The Vision Fund has done tremendous things for us in the past. I'm so grateful. But we have to look to the future, and that's what this is about. This is about investing in the future in the next generation. This is about prioritizing our needs. This is about focusing on the things that really matter. And while there's a lot of private needs, we are here and we're responsible to steward the public's trust and the public's resources. And I can tell you just from my time on the campaign trail, I'm sure as you, this is something I've heard over and over again. It crosses party lines. It doesn't really matter. Folks want us to invest in Rapid City because we're growing. Our challenges are growing. so are our opportunities, and I want to make sure we grow in a healthy way by making the most of our opportunities while keeping what makes us special. I believe this plan will help us do that. So in closing, this is the summary. This is a focus on the future. There are no tax increases as a part of this. This will fund critical essential services. It will provide a strategic growth revolving fund. It will invest in economic development, service the debt of the monument. It will still have funds available for citizen-driven projects. It will create a nonprofit endowment. And so the next steps are this. The next city council meeting, there will be an item on the agenda. It'll begin at the legal and finance meeting prior to that for your approval. And, after I present this, quite frankly, it's in your hands. Now, I'm going to be happy to talk about this. It's very important. But you have to know this isn't Jason Solomon's plan. This isn't even city staff plan. This is not just anyone's plan. This is all of our plan. Quite frankly, this plan was put together with the input of many of you, people in this room, people who are watching right now, because I've had to absorb all the information. Everybody wants something. We all know there's competing priorities in this city, and you cannot make everybody happy. But I'm not sure, besides us, that many have heard from as many people as we have about what the priorities are in Rapid City. I'm going to tell you, this isn't even exactly how perhaps I would have it go. I might put more money into other areas than others based on Jason's priorities, but I tried to do something that honored you and your input and the priorities that you have. And not only that, and more importantly, as we know, the priorities of the people of Rapid City. That's why we were elected. I know that's why I was elected. And so this is me making good on my campaign priority to bring this to you. But it is done so knowing that this is a we thing, not an I thing. It takes all of us. And so that's why it's presented this way. And it is keeping in the spirit of the existing ordinance. There would be some minor tweaks and changes, not so much to the spirit or the purpose of the ordinance, but to some of the procedure and how that looks. But with that, I'm happy to answer some questions today. And of course, we'll have lots more time to talk about it as well. Mr. Chair, are there any questions or comments?
I don't see anyone in the queue yet.
It's a lot to absorb, I know.
I guess we can go to Alderman Bill Evans.
Well, thank you. And nice presentation, Mr. Mayor. And you know where I stand on the Vision Fund, because I think it was a great thing that we did for the city. And I want to just make sure that everybody understands the current ordinance we have was an amended ordinance that did change how the funds were spent originally, so they weren't necessarily allocated that way. I believe that the Vision Fund is great. I hesitate to spend it on things that should be our day-to-day expenses, because I know for a fact, we keep making these comparisons with Sioux Falls, and the reality is we passed like one bond issue in the last, in the same time Sioux Falls has passed many. I know that everything from our ice arena, our museum, all of these things the swim center never would have been built without Vision Fund money. And I worry about taking more of it out of those kind of projects, because we simply don't build things in this town using bond issues and votes. The exception, of course, being that arena, which has stirred up a lot of feelings already, because so much of this fund is dedicated for the next how many years going toward paying that. And that's controversial as it is. I don't disagree with a lot of what you've got in the presentation. I think there's some good points, but I think we really, really have to be careful that whenever we approach something the citizens voted on, that we've transferred the intent of what they voted on, and over the course of time, it becomes something that they never would have passed in the first place. And the reality is, if we spend a lot of this money in Vision Funds toward fixing our roads and things we need to do, because those are the day-to-day expenses of running the city, I think it's disingenuous and it's a distortion, and that's one of the reasons people resent government. It's because it's not what they said. We don't do what they told us to do. And when this vote was originally taken, it was very clear. I think over the years it's been a bit distorted, and we have to be very careful that we don't lose the ability to build these kind of projects that everybody loves and makes us proud. So yeah, I'm going to study this, and I'm going to give it a chance, because you know I've been very outspoken about transferring money into things I don't believe. And if we really need taxes to build roads and whatnot, then we should let the people know that is what their money is going toward, and they should vote on that, but not transfer what their vote was originally to something else. So, but I'm going to give it a good study, and I appreciate the clarity on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, it's a fair point to bring up. That's why I brought up that ordinance language, that is still an emphasis on community enhancement. I believe that the comprehensive plan will still have the various projects that you talked about. I agree with you on the bond, that if we have favorable interest rates, that's something that we can leverage more of. Those are other discussions as well. It's all for community enhancement. I want to make sure it's very clear. I'm not talking about just throwing $90 million towards roads, although some people would love that. There are things, arts and culture, sports facilities, other things as well, that are brand new and not ongoing maintenance. So I think that's an important distinction. I think Mr. Evans, you speak for, you know, a number of folks who would have that take, and that's why I've been very try to honor the spirit of what the ordinance language is and what it was presented as when it was first voted on.
Thank you. Councilor Sechrist?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to chime in and thank you, Mayor Solomon, for presenting the Vision Fund proposed ordinance change to us ahead of time. I think your plan is really solid. It's forward-thinking. It allows us as a community to consider projects that are going to benefit everybody as a whole, especially when we speak about the Strategic Growth Revolving Fund. I think that's an excellent use of this funding source for us as a community to have the opportunity to look to where conditions are favorable for potential growth, that we can control mitigation efforts and costs of building and development, and have a greater impact that will trickle down to residents in the end. So just wanted to let you know that I appreciate the work you've done on this, and all of our opinions. I see this weaved throughout your proposal today, and I do appreciate you taking that into consideration. Thanks.
Anyone else from the dais? Okay,
All right, we good?
I think we're good.
Okay, let's get on to the rest of our work. Thank you. All right, next we'll begin general public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I do have one general public comment for Adrian Epp. Mr. Epp, you know you have 3 minutes, and we'll have your signal up here.
I know very well. But today's a little different because I'm not here just on general city planning stuff, road safety, anything like that. Well, a little bit road safety. But it's a personal petition. I live out down Sheridan Lake Road in the apartments next to Red Rocks. And it's something I see almost daily, that there's somebody running or cycling along Sheridan Lake Road toward town or back to Red Rocks, that area. And it's not very safe. They're braver than I am. I would love to cycle into town and do my errands using a bike, but it's not safe. And the people out there really do need an alternative way to get into town rather than just using their cars. This is part of the reason why we have the issue on Sheridan Lake Road where you need this reconstruction project. And I haven't harped on this on that project without, being someone who supposedly will benefit from it, because I'm on that road every day. So I do see the problems that are supposedly on that road, but that's aside from the point I was trying to make. We really do need some kind of mixed-use path to connect that community to the rest of Rapid City. Because otherwise, we're risking people being hit on the shoulder of that road on a daily basis. And if you try to tell me that the demand isn't there, that's like trying to tell me that you're not going to build a bridge across the river until you see enough people swimming across to demonstrate demand. People aren't going to cycle or walk or run along the side of the road in large numbers because they have an understanding like I do that it's dangerous. Some people just throw caution to the wind and do it anyway, but that's not the majority of people. So we need to take into account that if you build a mixed-use path, people will use it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epp. And that is, I think, all of general speaker request forms I have. So we will close general public comment and move on to non-public hearing items, items 2 through 31, and open public comment for items 2 through 26. I do not have any speaker request forms for those items, so we will close public comment for those items and move on to consent items 2 through 26. Will the council wish to remove any items for separate consideration? Or I'll take a motion to approve the rest. Got a motion by Evans and a second by Ham to approve items 2 through 26. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to non-consent items, items 27 through 31, and we will open public comment for items 27 through 31. I do not have any speaker request forms. So we will close public comment for items 27 through 31 and begin with item 27. First reading of ordinance number 6607, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Riss Associates, Inc. for the City of Rapid City Department of Parks and Recreation for a rezoning request from low-density residential District 1 to public district for property generally described as being located north of Crestwood Drive, east of Downing Street, south of Interstate 90, and west of North Lacrosse Street. Got a motion by Lehman to approve with a second by Evans. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 28, first reading of ordinance number 6608, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Riss Associates, Inc. for the City of Rapid City Department of Parks and Recreation for a rezoning request from medium-density residential district to public district for property generally described as being located north of Surfwood Drive, east of North Maple Avenue, south of Interstate 90, and west of North Lacrosse Street. And it looks like we have Councilor Evans in the queue.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a question for Mr. Beegler. I know when we started talking about the park project up there near Knollwood and everything, we did see that adjacent land that was for sale with the possibility of perhaps even making this a larger park area. Did anything come about with that discussion? Did you have a chance to check on that?
For the answer to that, we'll go to Parks Director Jeff Beegler.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. No, nothing has come out of that yet. We did look at that site, and we have not gotten any answers from any realtors on that. So we are looking at that, but we have not made any movement on it.
Okay. Got a motion by Lehman and a second by Roseland to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 29, approve a second reading and recommendation of ordinance number 6604, an ordinance amending section 2.28.060 of the Rapid City Municipal Code regarding the review of ordinances. Now, the recommendation is to amend the language to read either the Planning Commission or the Legal and Finance Committee may review and approve the ordinance, rather than the language instead of. Got a motion by Lehman, or by Sechrist?
Second.
and a second by Stroman to approve the amended language. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 30, approve third amendment to the agreement between International Association of Firefighters Local 1040 and the City of Rapid City effective January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026 to amend Appendix A. Motion by Roseland to approve. Second by Maher. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 31, a request by Long Branch Civil Engineering, Inc. for SKY Properties LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed Lot 1 through 4 of Zion subdivision, generally described as being located east of the intersection of Tower Road and Mount Rushmore Road. The recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion by Lehman, second by Maher to approve with stipulations. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to public hearing items 32, and we will open public hearing items, comments for item 32, but I do not have any speaker request forms, so we'll close the public hearing for item 32. And I'll go ahead and just read this in. Evergreen Eco Farm LLC, DBA Diamond E Collective, 523 Main Street for a new retail for on-off sale of wine and cider license and a renewed retail on-off sale of malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license. The motion to approve. Got a motion by Ham and a second by Sechrist to approve. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of the consent public hearing calendar. And we have nothing on non-consent public hearing items, so we will move on to the bill list. With that, we'll go to Finance Director Daniel Ainsley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The total bills for tonight are $9,969,428.14.
Move to approve.
Motion by Stroman, second by Roseland to approve the bill list. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Lehman, second by Ham to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.